What's up? Today we're gonna enjoy the game played with 100% accuracy and 100% beauty by Nezhmetdinov, who was Mikhail Tal's coach, and we know that Tal was outrageous. Imagine what a beast his coach was. The position that you see right now on the screen is also one of the most mind-boggling positions in chess history. I'm pretty sure that if I give this position to an average chess player and give him 10 attempts to find the winning move for white, he'd probably still fail and won't be able to find that winning shot. But let's start it from the very beginning. Nezhmetdinov was playing white against Lusikal playing black. White opens up with the queen's pawn move, d4, knight f6, c4. We go into the so-called Grunfeld defense, where black seemingly gives up the center, hoping to counter-attack it later on, and he starts doing that by going pawn to c5. Here white played bishop b5, check to the king. By the way, the fun fact is, when I make the chess.com review of this game, initially it says that bishop b5 was the only inaccuracy in this game, and for that reason it gives it 99.9% accuracy instead of 100% accuracy. However, if I give Stockfish longer time to think, it actually comes to the conclusion that bishop b5 was the best move. So in a way, Nezhmetdinov could humble Stockfish itself. Now, bishop b5 checks the king, and black played knight c6, a natural move which turns out to be incorrect in this particular case, because after d5, black actually starts seeing some troubles along this diagonal. But it's certainly not the end of the story, because black can counterattack this bishop by playing either a6 or queen a5, so the position remains to be complicated. And in the game, he chose to play queen a5, which looks like a pretty good option. I mean, it counterattacks the bishop as well as this pawn on c3. And from there, it's going to also hit the king as well as the rook. So that looks like a really multi-purpose and powerful move, but little did he know, right? I mean, if he knew the actual continuation of the game, he'd probably just run and hide instantly. Anyway, for now, instead of defending this pawn, or the bishop, or capturing the knight, Nezhmetdinov did something else. Again, you expect from Tal's coach to double down on his attack instead of defending, and that's exactly what he did. He played queen a4. He said, I don't care about this, I don't care about my king, don't care about my rook, I just want to double down on my own attack against this knight and this king. And black is forced to go down this rabbit hole of complications because he can't just trade queens. I mean, if he simply trade queens, then now this knight is still pinned and is dead on the next move. White simply grabs a knight and wins. Therefore, black needs to grab this pawn, attacking the king as well as the rook. But it actually looks very advantageous for black, right? What more can you expect from a single move, right? Check the king, attack of the rook, and black might have hoped for the move bishop d2, which Nezhmetdinov didn't play. Bishop d2 would be wrong because that would allow black to not only grab the rook, but to do so with a check to the king, adding even more power to black's counterattack. But Nezhmetdinov just boldly played the Bongcloud opening, king e2, and that was actually the best move in the position. Although the king looks deadly exposed here, there is not much black can do against it. Like, this knight is pinned, so it can never jump there because it's kind of pinned twice, not only once but twice. And it also turns out that taking the rook here on a1 actually backfires badly. He didn't play in the game, but just to show you what could happen if black did grab the rook, after pawn takes c6, these threats along this diagonal just turn out to be too strong. And for example, now the pawn is ready to be pushed forward to c7, which would actually create a checkmating position, or to grab here, again with a discovered check and a lot of devastation here along this diagonal. And finally, black captures over here. In this line, white doesn't even have to grab the rook, because he can create a nice cozy checkmate with queen to a5. Pretty cool. White is controlling these both diagonals, and that would be a checkmate. Black calculated these variations, realized that taking on a1 is way too dangerous for black, and instead he played a much more human move, playing bishop d7, realizing that, he needs to cover this diagonal. Now white could take the knight on c6, black recaptures, bishop takes c6. Here white adds still one more attack against this bishop, and black can't take here on c6. He played rook d8 to solidify his position. Bishop takes c6 would be terrible for black, queen recaptures with check, and on the next move white would grab this rook with another check. Actually, black does onto black what black did onto white, so white is kind of following the golden rule. And so instead of this exchange, black played rook d8, solidifying the position, defending this bishop, and actually for the moment, position looks fairly interesting and still quite decent for black. Yes, currently he's down material, he lost that knight on c6, therefore white's got an extra knight. However, the king is exposed here on e2, Plus black is still threatening this rook on a1, and therefore the position looks certainly very complicated. Now, here's the beauty of this position. There is only one move that actually wins the game for white, because all the other moves do not accomplish the task and could easily lose. So what's the move? You can pause the video if you will and give yourself like 5 or 10 tries to find the winning shot, just so that after that you can appreciate the beauty of the following variation. Now, how about bishop takes d7? Now, if you've been following this channel for some time, if you're part of the Igor Nation, then you know that to take is a mistake. And that is just yet another example of the same thing. Taking there is bad, because that would just trade bishops without giving white any other advantages, plus that would activate this rook along the d-file, creating all kinds of queen d3 checks, and possibly white is in trouble. That only helps black. Therefore, it makes no sense for white to trade there. What else can white play? Well, you may think, okay, if this rook is hanging, let's just move it away, rook b1. And that might have been a nice move for white to play, but there is a really brutal refutation of this move from black. That is the move, ready? Queen d3. Sacrificing the entire queen for seemingly no reason, just to drag the white king out to a more exposed position, and now black is ready to play bishop takes c6 with a discovered check. That's why we wanted so badly the white king to stand there that black were even ready to sacrifice an entire queen for that. And because of the check, that also gives black an opportunity to grab the queen on the next move, and we arrive at an endgame position where black is up a pawn with 2 bishops and have just a winning endgame. This also brings us to the conclusion that, generally speaking, black has this tremendous threat of queen to d3 sacrifice. So black could unleash these tactics after almost whatever the white plays here, and white's got to address it somehow, besides, addressing this threat. And white played a move queen to b3, which initially is very counterintuitive. I mean, we wanted so bad to double down on our attack along this diagonal. We need our queen to support the bishop. We need to take care of our hanging rook. We need to take care of our exposed king. We need to finally develop our pieces somehow, right? But instead of doing all that, white plays queen b3, offering an exchange of queens. So that's a super counterintuitive move. That's why I said that it's so difficult for white to find it. Now, what's the idea? The idea is that black can either take here or here, right? Basically 2 options. And the major advantage of queen to b3 is that it covers this d3 square, so that black can't play this nasty sacrifice queen to d3 anymore, because we could just capture it with a queen. And taking on b3 would not help black really, because white can save this bishop, and instead of capturing immediately, white can first play in the in-between move bishop takes d7, and only then recapture with a queen. And now white will simply enjoy having an extra knight in an endgame, and therefore a winning game. So black can't go that way. Which means that instead of queen takes b3, black is going to capture on a1. But that looks perfectly fine for black. Black is grabbing the rook and is attacking this bishop. So what was the purpose? Why did white sacrifice the rook for no reason? Well, wait a second, you'll see why. He played bishop b2 initially, attacking the queen. And since we're controlling a bunch of these squares, the only square available is queen b1, so that's what black played. And here, white reveals the point of sacrificing that rook on a1. He sacrificed that in order to sacrifice one more rook on the next move. So, not sure if he was a Gotham subscriber and just wanted to sacrifice as many rooks as he could in one game, or, he wanted to just kind of use one of the modern problems of society, overeating. He kind of provoked black into that. Whatever it is, white is just sacrificing another rook. Like, with all the seriousness, the whole point of that is that now white goes knight e5. And although white sacrificed almost all of his pieces already by now, the remaining few pieces that he's got are super powerful. So, this knight and queen are threatening queen takes f7 checkmate. Besides that, they're putting significant pressure over here. And our bishop on b2 is also very active. In contrast to this, black is like totally passive. All of his pieces are on the edges of the board, just doing nothing. And that's why white kind of sacrificed the material in order to get these super duper superheroes on the board for him, and they can really defeat black's army. Anyway, right now black needs to stop this queen from coming there. Played pawn e6. Now bishop takes d7 check, rook takes, and queen b8 strangely enough initiates a forced checkmate in 9 moves. So that's crazy. I mean, if you will, you can stop it and try to calculate it on your own. That would be a nice calculation exercise. But anyway, but the point is pretty simple. White just wants to keep chasing the king. King goes here, queen b7 check. Our knight is also doing a good job controlling this square. The king has to go. King went to f6. Now queen takes f7 check. King g5. Knight f3. White just keeps delivering checks. Black played king to h5. g4 check. I mean, it's pretty simple. White needs to attack all the time because otherwise Black would be able to start, executing his own threats, such as queen to d1 checkmate. Not checkmate yet, but it could easily become checkmate on the next move. So king takes, queen takes e6 check. Another fun fact is that the very same game, happened like many years later. I don't remember exactly, but something like 40 years later. The entire game was basically played once again by other opponents, and apparently Black didn't know about this one. Now Black played king f4, bishop e5 check, king takes e4, and now we're approaching the critical stage where two kings facing each other, and Black is ready to play queen d1 checkmate, by the way, supported by the rook, but it's White's turn, and White has a bunch of ways to finish it off. He plays knight g5 checkmate, quite a rare construction, right, with knight delivering checkmate, and king is actually playing a good role here, taking away certain squares. So you could say that actually White's Bongcloud opening ultimately worked out really well. If you enjoyed this one, you might as well enjoy the game where Nezhmetdinov's best known student, Mikhail Tal, played a somewhat similar game in a way, maybe even slightly more spectacular, where he sacrificed literally everything but gained a lot of fans by playing this game. Check it out right here.